This is Quarina, and you're listening to Bold, Brown and British, a weekly podcast where we discuss what it means to be a brown person in a Western world. We've spoken about colorism, third culture identity, and dating, amongst many others in this podcast. So if this sounds like the type of content that you want to hear, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts from. You can also message us on Instagram. The handle is @BoldBrownAndBritish, or drop us an email via our website at www.boldbrownbritish.com. So without further ado, let's get on with this week's episode.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Bold, Brown British podcast. I'm your host, Quarina, your go-to guide for navigating the wonderful, wacky, and sometimes weary world of being a brown person in modern British society. Whether you're tuning in from the bustling streets of London, the serene Scottish Highlands, or anywhere in between, I'm thrilled to have you with me today. Now, let's talk about something that's as common in our lives as a cup of chai and biscuit. Code switching. Yes, that fascinating, exhausting, sometimes hilarious situation where we switch up our speech, behaviour, and even mannerisms depending on who we're with. If you've ever had to change the way you speak when chatting with Auntie G at a family gathering and then switch it up again when you're at your mates at the pub, you're no stranger to code switching. So what exactly is code switching? How does it manifest in our daily lives, and why do we do it? Well, buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into this topic. And don't worry, as always, we'll keep it light, breezy, and maybe even a little bit cheeky along the way. So what is code switching? At its core, code switching refers to the practice of alternating between two or more languages or varieties of language in between conversations. But it's more than just language. It can also involve switching between different cultural behaviours or even social norms. For us brown folk in Britain, code switching is almost second nature. It's the seamless transitions we make when moving from one cultural context to another. 1 minute you're speaking Bengali with your grandparents, the next you're using perfect British English with your colleagues. Then there are the countless other micro adjustments we make, often without even realising it. So let's break down different ways code switching shows up in our lives. Language switching is the most obvious form. You might be speaking English at work, but you switch to Gujarati, Urdu, Tamil, Bengali at home. Sometimes it even happens mid-sentence, like when you're trying to explain to your mum why you were late and it sounds something like, "Mum, I was late because traffic bahut zyada tha." And then there's the accent and dialect changes. Because have you ever noticed how your accent subtly changes depending on who you're talking to? With your friends, you might let your natural accent shine. But at a job interview, suddenly you sound like the Queen's cousin. It's having a linguistic wardrobe where you can pick the right accent for the right occasion. It does also go beyond language to behavioural switching. And this includes changing your body language, gestures, and even facial expressions. At home, you might be the dutiful son or daughter, but out with your friends, you're the life of the party. It's about adapting to the social expectations of different groups. Sometimes, we even switch the topics we talk about based on our audience. You might discuss the latest Bollywood movie with your cousins, but talk about the Premier League with your co-workers. It's all about finding common ground and fitting in. So why do we code switch? Because you might be wondering, why do we even go through all this trouble? Why can't we all just be ourselves all the time? Well, there are a few reasons. Firstly, social acceptance. We all want to fit in and be accepted by the people around us. Code switching helps us to do that by aligning our behaviour and speech with the norms of the group that we're interacting with. It's kind of like a survival mechanism that helps us navigate different social settings. Secondly, avoiding conflict. Sometimes, code switching is about avoiding misunderstandings or conflicts. If you're at work and you start speaking in your native language, it might make others uncomfortable or even create a barrier. Switching to English ensures a smooth communication. Professional advancement. In professional settings, code switching can be a strategic move. By adopting a more standard way of speaking, we might be seen as more competent or more professional. And it's about playing the game and making sure that we are taken seriously. On the flip side, switching to a native language at home or with our family helps preserve our cultural heritage. It's a way of staying connected to our roots and ensuring that our traditions live on. The challenges of code switching. While code switching has its benefits, it can also be really exhausting. It's like being an actor with multiple roles to play, constantly switching costumes and scripts. Here are some of the challenges that we face. Identity confusion. Constantly switching between different variations and versions of ourselves can lead to a bit of an identity crisis. Who are we really? Are we the versions we are at home? Are we the versions we are at work or with our friends? It can be really hard to reconcile these different identities. Keeping track of all the social cues and adjusting our behavior accordingly can also be mentally draining. It's like having a mental switchboard that's constantly flicking between different channels. And third and lastly, there might also be the struggle of feeling inauthentic. When we're constantly adapting to fit in, it can feel like we're not being true to ourselves. It's a delicate balance between fitting in and staying true to who we are. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. Code switching can be a great source of humor and even pride. Here's a few funny scenarios that you've probably experienced. Firstly, the accidental switch. Have you ever been so deep in conversations that you accidentally switch language? Like when you're in a meeting and you suddenly drop a Hindi phrase, leaving everyone confused. Sorry, what was that again? I do this quite a lot. If I'm really tired, I suddenly start speaking in Bengali and expect other people to understand. And I'll admit, sometimes the oof and thudra has come into my speech every now and again. Secondly, there's the over-polite switch. This happens when you're speaking to someone from a different cultural background and you overdo the politeness. Suddenly you're bowing and using words that you never normally use. Oh, absolutely. It would be my utmost pleasure to assist you. Thirdly, there's the unintentional mix-up. Sometimes our brains get a bit mixed up and we combine languages in the most creative ways. Sorry, can you pass the roti? The bread. It's a fun reminder of our multicultural backgrounds. So where do we go from here? How do we embrace code switching and make it work for us? The first step is being aware of when and why we're code switching. Accept that it's a natural part of our lives and that it doesn't have to make us any less authentic. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be refined. Secondly, finding balance. Strive to find a balance between fitting in and staying true to yourself. It's okay to adapt, but don't lose sight of who you are. Embrace your multicultural identity and celebrate it. Thirdly, use it to your advantage. Recognize that code switching can be a really powerful tool. Use it to build bridges between different cultural groups, enhance your communication skills, and navigate various social settings with ease. And lastly, educating others. Sometimes people around us might not understand why we code switch. Take the opportunity to educate them about it. Explain that it's a way of navigating different cultural landscapes and that it enriches our lives. All this to say that code switching is an integral part of the brown British experience. It's a testament to our adaptability, resilience, and cultural richness. While it comes with its challenges, it also brings a unique set of skills that help us navigate the diverse world that we live in. So, the next time you find yourself switching languages, accents, or behaviors, give yourself a pat on the back. You're not just surviving, you're thriving in a multicultural society. And remember, whether you're sipping tea with Auntie G or grabbing a pint with your mates, you're always authentically you. That's all for today's episode of Bold Brown British. If you enjoyed this chat about code switching, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. And as always, I love hearing from you. So drop me a message on our social media, particularly Instagram, and send me your questions and stories about code switching. Until next time, stay bold, stay brown, and stay brilliantly British. Cheers, everybody.
Oh, Mikey, you made it till the end. I'm so happy. Well, listen, if you enjoyed what you heard and you want to hear more, subscribe to the podcast on, wherever you are listening to this. We are on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, TuneIn, Alexa, you name it, we're there. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on an episode. We also are on Instagram, which houses loads of behind-the-scenes audio snippets, polls, memes, and ways for you to get involved. So go follow us on Bold, Brown and British. That's the handle. And until next time, keep safe, my wonderful samosas.